All right, so whether it's Confucius Institutes or, I'm not too far from the campus of the University of Michigan or Michigan State University, big campuses. Thousands of Chinese national students come in, they study here, and listen, this is the way they infiltrate. It's their first step in, isn't it?
Right, Steve. So I think two basic concepts, right? One, we need to look at the Chinese student organizations. These organizations were established back in 1997 with an intention for Communist Party to monitor its students' overseas activities, particularly oppress any dissidents from, within the Chinese students group. The other concept is not every single Chinese student was working for the CCP. In fact, that many Chinese international students appreciate their opportunities in the West and devote their time within our movement and to fight against the Chinese Communist Party. So I think that if the U.S. government wants to take a look at the CCP's infiltration in academic areas, it is very essential to look at the CSSAs, the Confucius institutions, especially with the talent recruitment program.
So when a Chinese student comes to pick any university or college in America, they come with strings attached, is what you're telling me. They come with strings and people that watch them and monitors. Of course, we've heard about police stations in New York City and all over the country as well. There is a monitoring system for all Chinese, for all people, really, being run out of Beijing. But the students are watched extra closely to make sure they don't deviate from the party demands. Is that what you're telling me?
Right, Steve, that every Chinese student was monitored by the CCP, but not every single Chinese students are actually working or agreeing with the way that the CCP wanted them to do. So I think that, the CSSA, the Chinese Student Associations, were specifically made to monitor its Chinese students, and they were made solely for the Chinese members. Look at the videos on the screen, right? These are Chinese students who were fighting against the Hong Kong students in University of Queensland. They were basically demonstrating how the CCP was oppressing Hong Kong student protests in the past. And one of the Chinese students there was saying that they support genocide. They agree with the CCP's policies on Uyghurs. They agree with the CCP's policies on Muslims. And they were asking Hong Kong students that they were saying that they have the speech of freedom. Look at these slaves and puppets of the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, it is, and this is in New Zealand, of course, in West Queensland or Australia, either one. But this sort of divide, you say, happens in America too. So what happens to a student? Give me an idea, Aila. What happens to a student in America who goes, wow, I have been misled my whole life. I don't support destroying the Uyghurs. I don't support slave labor. I don't support enslaving the whole world to create things for the elites in China, in Beijing and elsewhere. So what happens to a student that rebels?
Well, thank you, Steve, for that question, right? I am one of those rebelling students, right? So if Chinese students are looking for opportunities to rebel against the CCP, the results were their families were being threatened in China, that their families, their photos, their personal relationships were being public on Twitter all the times. And the CSSAs, the Chinese students, the majority of the Chinese students group will reject this person's appearance in the public view, just like these Hong Kong students in University of Queensland.